Hi guys. If you have not long watched the week 1 of Fee's study diary, this is just going to go into a lot more in depth of how I even got to doing this studying, as well as an update on all my eyesight slash let's get more independent journey slash plan. So yeah, if I go back like more than a year ago, I went to my annual appointment with my eye surgeon, but as it turned out, he actually wasn't there that day and I saw someone different. So of course, because he didn't know me, my eye surgeon I've been with since he did my lens implants when I was 16 and I'm 45 this year. So a very long time, so I never have to go through any of my story with him because he knows me extremely well. But it was a new guy, so obviously you're doing a lot more talking about it. They're always a little bit interested in me because it always looks like 99% of their clients are old, like are older, quite older, like sort of like 70s, 80s, even like older, a lot of cataracts, that sort of thing. So they always seem to be quite interested in my situation. So I was just talking to him about that, of course hitting him up for any possible advancements or ideas that he had, and of course he didn't have any either, but what can you do? But anyway, in talking to him, he was saying to me, do you realize how much intelligence you've used to come up with all these mechanisms that you use to help with the low vision that you have? And I've never even thought about it before, but I do know that I do things like, I count steps for the first few times of being places, so that I can go back, later, in further times and feel more confident, kind of like a muscle memory, like my own home. Like I don't do it at home because I know the inside of my house like the back of my hand sort of thing, so I can just whiz around it and I just know exactly where everything is. Not that doesn't stop me running into the wall sometimes, but put that aside. But anyway, I also do things like I'll put my finger in the top of a cup, like when I'm filling it up. It doesn't work very well for hot liquids, I might just say, but for cold liquids it works perfectly. And when I'm walking alongside someone, I can see their, you don't really have to have crazy good vision at all to sense the presence slash see the darkness, I guess. Terrible word to say, but the darkness amongst the light of the person that's either to your left or your right. So I've always just sort of, subconsciously attached myself to that person, so that way I can confidently, cross a road with them or whatever, because I've subconsciously sort of attached myself to them. And I even walk ahead of people and do, like, I subconsciously attach myself to them, but ahead of them. I don't think I ever, I'm sure I never thought to myself, I'll put myself a little bit ahead because that will make me look like I can see better. I never thought that, but I think that's why I do it. Because a lot of the stuff I do is to make myself look more sighted. And that all goes back to bullying at school and just different, I guess, bullying slash lack of support from people that I would have liked support from. So there's a little bit of sort of damage, I guess, emotional damage from that. And that leads me to another thing that I'm doing now, which is I've started seeing a psychologist, and the reason for that is so that I can kind of like unlock, some of these, blockages I've put in place as far as accepting help, asking for help, allowing people to know when I can't see something, as opposed to just letting people believe I can see more than I can. So I had that appointment a year ago, so of course you just start thinking things, and I guess it just gives you a more positive mindset about what really is a negative thing, my whole vision thing. I had never thought about the possibility of being able to have any sort of career or job really. So I'd always wanted to go back and do Bible college because I did that cert a few years ago and I really enjoyed it. So I really wanted to come back and do more. But that was just more for personal growth, personal interest. it wasn't really for any plans to have a job or anything. But then with all of this other stuff happening in the background, this encouragement from this surgeon, and then talking to other people with low vision and finding out that the things I do, the little things I do, are very common. You know, things like I will only, you know, pretty much only order the one or two things from a particular takeaway or food shop or whatever, because I don't want to have to say that I can't read the menu in order to see what else they have. So it's just easier for me to, you know, have the same thing there. And it just, all of those things, having somebody else say, oh yeah, I do that, like they're kind of just more stepping stones, building stones to, you know, feel more confident about why you do things and that sort of stuff. So, but having said that, I've certainly never thought to myself, oh, I'm sick of having this, you know, I've never resented it. Like, I've always been just happy to do that, because I was happier to not have people know that I couldn't see properly rather than get to eat something different. So it never bothered me, but it's just interesting to sort of, you know that other people do similar things. So, and then another thing that happened was a friend of mine who also has low vision, he said to me, you know, almost in an offhand way, oh, you know, you have NDIS, don't you? And I remember distinctly thinking, you know, sort of thinking, no, like, I'm not disabled enough for that. For people that aren't in Australia, NDIS is the National Disability Insurance Scheme. It's how people with disability are funded for the things that they need to be able to have a good quality of life. So, but I just always thought that, I don't even think I would have thought about it, to be honest, prior to that guy saying anything. But had I would have just discarded it, because I just didn't think I fell into that category. But anyway, so now that I've started down that path, there needed to be eye tests, there needed to be letters from my surgeon and from my optometrist and all that sort of thing. So that application is now in, and throughout that process I also did some orientation and mobility training with Vision Australia to use a white cane, which was a crazy big deal for me, because that is the polar opposite of let's look like I'm perfectly sighted. So, but I am getting there as far as like seeing the benefit of it, because I've only done one session of training so far, but even that one session of training was so amazing in that just that people see that cane and that they know that you can't see them. So even though it's very, very strange, it's a head game, but even though that's what I've worked against the whole time, I didn't want people knowing that I couldn't see well. If I'm needing to cross a road or whatever, and they're the ones in the car, you know, I want them to know that I can't see them, because a lot of the time, like, I'll try and cross at a crossing, which you would think is a very safe place to cross. But because I look fully sighted, you know, a car will, you know, creep up to the crossing, as people like to do, because they'd rather not have to fully stop. But I won't cross a crossing until I can see a car has stopped, because my depth perception doesn't allow me to know when, like, how far away they are. So I want them to stop all the way, and not everyone likes to do that, and quite often they'll get annoyed and just like scream on through. So it's very nerve-wracking to cross at a crossing. Whereas if you're standing there with a cane, that person is going, most likely the person is going to stop, because they know that you can't see them. So I did just feel just an automatic, I was so much more comfortable, you know, crossing a road, coming up to people, or to, because sometimes, like, if you're walking up past like a cafe or something and there's a lot of chairs out and stuff, that can be a bit tricky, and I'll just usually stay as far away from that as possible. But even just things like that, like, people see the cane and they know that they can't see you, so they'll move their chair, they'll move their, you know, whatever. So yeah, everything that's been happening on this journey has all been like a building block to help me get to a stage where I'll happily accept the help and see it as a positive thing as opposed to a negative thing. So yeah, I'm also going to do further training with the cane. I have bought one, it hasn't arrived yet, and I did cringe while purchasing it, but you know, I also can't wait for the benefits, so it's a balancing act, and I'm sure I'll come full circle and love it, because you know, I have to admit, I cannot wait to be able to go to an unfamiliar place by myself. I pretty much can't do that. So to be able to, like, say, get the train into the city, or you know, go and meet someone at South Bank or whatever, like, I'm pretty excited to be able to do that on my own. And then you know, doing this diploma, which hopefully will lead to a job as a chappie in an aged care or in a hospital, that has opened up the possibility of me being able to actually get a train to a hospital or to an aged care. There's an aged care facility within walking distance of us here, but I mean, I can't bank on, you know, getting a job at that one place. And I would, now that things have progressed more, I really do like the idea of getting a job at a hospital. So either an adults hospital or a kids hospital, and we have, I think, yeah, 4 hospitals that I could get to on the train line. So yeah, so that's kind of covering all the, you know, journey that I've been on this past year, but mostly like the past 6 months. It's huge, to be honest. It's really, really huge. And it just shows me that God goes before me into every situation, because something that I was starting to get quite anxious about is the empty nest situation with my kids. You know, when I was, you know, in school, like, I always wanted to be a mum from when I was very young, but just with, you know, bullying through school and just my school situation, not a lot of the best decisions were made with my schooling. I was stubborn and didn't want to stay in a school for the visually impaired, wanted to go to a normal school, but that to the detriment of probably, you know, my education, really. Because I always wanted to be a mum, didn't do that fabulously in school, or really even have the opportunity to have a lot of jobs anyway, because I'd been too stubborn to be taught with orientational mobility. I just focused on that I was going to be the best mum that I possibly could be, and of course I'm not perfect, and you know, I've made a gazillion mistakes along the way, but on the whole I have made being a mum and a wife, you know, my whole you know, personality, my whole identity, sort of thing. And that's all in the process of changing, because you know, my kids are 20, 19 and 16. James, my 16-year-old, I've just withdrawn from school last week because he's going to go to TAFE and then hopefully get an apprenticeship. So that will mean I have no kids in school. I still have 3 kids living at home, so I'm still, you know, a full-time mum, but that's obviously going to change a lot in the next 5 years. And I was really worried about that. If I thought about it for too long, the whole empty nest situation, it really made me, I could literally cry if I thought about it too much. And it was because, you know, Terry's retired, he has his interests, which I could involve myself in more, but they don't hugely interest me, and I wanted my own thing, and it still wasn't going to give me an identity, it was just going to give me something to do. So now that the future looks so different, that I could actually have a job, a career, I could actually be something different other than a mum, and actually help other people, which is, you know, my gifting, you know, is strongly in, you know, care and compassion, that sort of thing. So I'm pretty excited about it. It's all a bit daunting, but it's also very exciting. And, you know, as I said, the most exciting part of it is that God went before me. He always knew that this was going to pan out. Like, you know, like 8 months ago, I'd think about you know, being left in this house with no kids, and Terry's off flying, and what the heck was I going to be doing? So, and now it's just, you know, 180-degree difference. So it's pretty exciting, and it just can't be ignored how good God has been to me. So not only have, you know, I never had a huge issue with my eyesight, as in being resentful of it or, you know, that sort of thing. I've even been able to see the blessing of it, because I mean, if I had been fully sighted and, you know, I probably, the way society is, I would have been, you know, expected to be part of a 2-income family, so which means that I probably wouldn't have been able to be home with my children full time for their entire childhood, which I've been able to do. And I think that's a huge blessing that comes with the fact that I, well, basically had no choice, but, you know, it's still a blessing that comes with the fact that my vision stopped me from being a worker out of the home. So yes, I'm very happy with how things are going, and I just wanted to fill you all in on that, what's been going on, because it's pretty huge. It's pretty big change ahead. So I really appreciate you guys listening and following along with me, and I will keep you updated via the study diaries and obviously our normal vlogs. We've been a little bit slack the last few months, but I actually have probably 5 or 6 vlogs that are ready to make and get up on the channel, so we will get to those as quickly as we can. Okay, I hope you guys are having a fantastic week, and I will see you soon.